Sorry. So, good morning again from Bangkok, APACT 2021, and for everyone who, our speaker online, as I said, already mentioned this morning that we may have to say good afternoon and good evening to our speaker who come from other continents. So this session, the title will be Standardized Plain Packaging in Asia, Way Forward and Lessons Learned Tobacco Standardized Plain Packaging. So we have 5 speakers. Already I can see only 4 speakers online already. And we start with our first speaker, Dr. Chayanan Sitabut, who works on the Office of Tobacco Production Control Committees, Divisions of Disease Control, Ministry of Public Health, Thailand. He is now the Director of Office of Tobacco Products Control Committees, and he also an orthopedic surgeon. His area of interest is about tobacco control. So I would just ask Dr. Chayanan to be the first speaker. Please welcome Dr. Chayanan. Thank you. Not ready yet. Ajahn Chayanan, okay. Yes. So you open the speakers, the microphone, and thenอาจารย์ชัยนันท์เขาดูออนไลน์เนี่ยอาจารย์ชัยนันท์ครับ please open the microphone, turn on the microphone, and then you can speak right now. You are the first speakers. Can you hear me? อาจารย์อยู่นี่ป่ะอยู่ที่นี่ป่ะ
Dr. Chayana, we can't hear you.
I think he has to turn on the microphone. อาจารย์ชัยนันท์So he shared the screen and เดี๋ยวคุณต้องโทรคุณ
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes. Please speak louder.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Chayanan Sitabut, the Director of Office of Tobacco Products Control Committee, Department of Disease Control, Ministry of Public Health, Thailand. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm going to talk about plain packaging regulation in Thailand. Plain packaging is mandatory for all cigarettes and your available in Thailand. The legislative announcement on plain packaging is the latest effort of Thai government and add to the Tobacco Product Control Act 2017, which enforced 20 years as the minimum age of purchasing tobacco and bans tobacco advertisement, promotion, and sponsorship. Thailand, which has become the first in Asia and the first low and middle income country to adopt plain packaging for tobacco products. Plain packaging does restrict and prohibit the use of logo, colors, brand image, or promotional information on packaging other than brand names and product name displayed in the standard color and font style. Thailand already has public health warning covering 85% packaging of tobacco products. Plain packaging is an evidence-based policy being advocated by the WHO FETC, a legal treaty that aims to protect present and future generations against the devastating health and socio-economic impact of tobacco use. Thailand first implemented graphic health warning on cigarette packaging in 2005. Overall, 55% of the package area was appropriate to health warning, and the set of 6 warnings were located on cigarette packets. Thailand has since updated health warning regularly. In 2006, a new set of 9 warnings were put in place. In 2009, a new set of 10 health warning images was released. In June 2014, the Thai court approved a new regulation requiring lithographic health warning and a quit smoking hotline number on package. The new warning was required to cover 85% of both sides of cigarette package. Retailers were given until September 2014 to comply with the new measures. In 2014, MOPS started drafting new Tobacco Product Act Control Act because the old one has no detail that correspond to current situation and the WHO FCTC. So one of measure is measure of plain packaging. In Article 38, measure that the government said to entrepreneur or tobacco industry switch to use plain packaging on cigarettes. Is it exaggerating and unnecessary measure? Is it impose burden to retailers? And is it violate intellectual property of tobacco industry? So we will lesson learn situation in 2014 to 2017 that drafting Tobacco Product Control Act and what happened. What is tactic from tobacco industry? Let's learn together in this session. Why MOPS starts drafting new Tobacco Product Control Act? We have been experienced in efforts from tobacco industry and front group to try to pressure the government. The tobacco industry established and support Thailand Tobacco Trade Association to oppose the law, in particular article on plain packaging. Thai law firm to voice concern on intellectual property issue, support tobacco farmers to campaign drafting tobacco law, hurt tobacco farmers, and use paid media to discredit Ministry of Public Health and Tobacco Control advocates and lobby politicians. They let politicians setting the question and demand about regulation. Regarding to tobacco industry, they draft the letter to National Legislation Assembly to oppose that tobacco control law is ineffective and lead to problem on trade. Tobacco industry continually oppose tobacco control law. They also publicize on the billboard to oppose this law because they need to raise awareness that tobacco control law will be affected on them. Main argument of tobacco industry are exaggerating and unnecessary measures. Other measures are more effective, impose burden to retailers, and violate intellectual property law. Tobacco industry requests for dialogue that with policymakers and intervene to weaken the law and send the letter to Prime Minister, parliamentarian, relevant ministries, request to meet with Prime Minister and Minister of Public Health, request to attend the judicial review at the Attorney General and attend and intervene at the technical meeting organized by Parliamentarian Special Committee. Challenge Ministry of Public Health and discredit tobacco control advocated from the tobacco industry. assuring Minister of Public Health during the public hearing of draft tobacco control law, challenged Minister of Public Health at the bilateral meeting between tobacco farmers and Ministry of Public Health, and utilized paid articles in newspaper to accuse and discredit. Now, we are addressing tobacco industry tactics. We will be vigilant on tobacco industry tactics and regularly expose tobacco industry and its fund groups. We have the committed team to prepare the regulation and implementation guidelines, anticipating questions from policymakers, and be prepared to answer with existing evidence and adequate educating and advocating policymakers and media. In addition, we work closely with civil society to demolish tobacco industry and their allies. In 2019, after the regulation of cigarette and roll your own packaging was enforced, we still found that some tobacco industry are not compliant with the plain packaging standard, because the brand name and variant of the products are not placed in correct place with that of notification of plain packaging. Besides tobacco industry, we also survey and enforce the law on plain packaging regulation to retailers and other relevant sellers such as supermarket and convenience store. Throughout the past 2 years, it's time to revise the plain packaging for cigarette products and rotating of graphic health warning. The Tobacco Product Control Act of 2017 requires that the National Tobacco Product Control Board to review the required graphic health warning and health warning message every 2 years, which change out of reviewing academic information from other countries. After the revision, we held the online public hearing, and we found that tobacco industry and other relevant groups also claim that plain packaging regulation should not be enforced because of COVID-19 pandemic. One of the comments from tobacco industry is the period time of enforcement on this regulation. However, we are addressing this issue and still continually implement plain packaging regulation. This is for people health, and on 14 July 2021, this regulation was published in the Governance Gazette. This is an example of new plain packaging that changing on 10 design of new graphic health warning image and message, font style and font size of brand and variant name. Location of brand and variant must be at the front and the back, and also font style and font size of information message. They are the new 10 design of graphic health warning. This is a timeline of effective date on our new plain packaging regulation. All of these are the details of lessons learned of plain packaging from Thailand, and we cheer up your country to adopt using the plain packaging and 85% of graphic health warning to follow the guideline of the WHO FTTC. Don't worry about it. You can also do it too. And we will support your country for this changing. Thank you very much.
And follow Thailand, making the packaging slide what Dr. Chayanan had already shown on the slides, and that will be effective in January next year. And I think after that, then Dr. Chayanan will follow up and see the impact of the new packaging we start next year. He also told us about his experience on dealing with the tobacco industry when we introduced a new packaging plain explained in the last few years. So, this is something that we have to cheer up and then do it again, and then very, very, let us say, resilient to try to put the plain packaging show the harmful effect of cigarette smoking. So I would like to thank you very much, Dr. Chayanan, and then you stay online. We move on to the next speakers. I think it's Dr. Chan Litfai. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. But I'm not sure. Are we presenting Xian's slides first, or I can
Yes,
go
yes.
as
Thank
well?
you very much. So
Okay,
you
okay,
can go on.
okay.
I sorry that
Okay.
I haven't introduced you. You come from Institute from Health Promotion Board from Singapore. You are assistant director and specialize in tobacco control policy. So your area of interest is tobacco control policy, and please go on with the information that you want to share with us. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. I'll go straight on to my presentation. I know there's a time limit of 10 minutes, so I'll go straight on to the next. So let me give you some background on how our journey, Singapore's journey to standardized packaging started. So Singapore has a multi-pronged approach to tobacco control like most countries, and over the last few years, we have implemented tobacco tax in 2014, 2018. We banned misleading descriptors. We've banned misleading descriptors. We've also, every 2 or 3 years, we expand the prohibition of smoking in public places. In 2017, we banned public point-of-sale display bans, as well as prohibiting emerging tobacco products, which includes e-cigarettes, HTPs, and so forth. And over the years, we have numerous public education and programs for cessation. So in 2015, we found that our prevalence rates were hovering between 12 and 14% for the last 10 years, and that the highest prevalence rates were among males. So nearly 1 in 5 males smoked here in Singapore. So we looked at standardized packaging in 2015, and we started our journey then. We looked at reviewing the evidence to support the rationale for the policy, as well as engaging the public and key stakeholders to support the policy and also the implementation. So here's a graph or a chart to visualize on our journey, on our research that we did. So before we started the research, we did initial ground sensing studies, which were very small scale samples looking at what makes tobacco packaging unattractive. So, and now we did a 3-phased approach to the research. So the first phase was we looked at the question, what makes cigarette packaging unattractive? And we used both qualitative and quantitative measures. So we looked at different parts of the cigarette packets, like the color, the font and style and so forth, and to look at which was unattractive in our sample. The second phase was to look at which cigarette packaging is the most unattractive. Again, this was both quantitative and qualitative work. And this was mostly focusing on the graphic health warnings. And the third phase was we took all our findings from the first and second phase and we applied it to other tobacco products. So most of the research we conducted in phase 1 and 2 was on cigarette packaging. In phase 3, we focused on different types of products like roll-on tobacco, pipe tobacco, cigars, cigarettes, and so forth. Okay. So as part of the first phase, we looked at the different types of cigarette packs. We found that regular hard packs and soft packs were the most unattractive. When we looked at cigarette colors, the color for the packaging, we found that Pantene 448, which is the same one as Australia, was most unappealing or unattractive. We also looked at side text warning. We looked at different color backgrounds, like the yellow, black, and white, to see which one's the most noticeable. We found that the yellow on black text was the most noticeable. And also, we looked at the sentence case, the letter style that we used in health warning on side packets. So we found that capital letters were harder to read, so the easier to read was sentence case. The second phase was looking at health warnings, and we had different numbers of themes. So we had more 8 themes, and we found that the ones which related to secondhand smoke impacting loved ones, causes diseases, and harms a child, as well as causing death and aging, were the most relatable and most effective warnings. Other warnings which relate to cessation or addiction or poisons weren't so effective. So we looked at these 1, 2, 3, 5 different themes for our next health warnings. And we also looked at the size of the health warning as well. We used 50%, 75%, and also 85%. And we found that in our research, 75% was more effective than 50, but it is only a little bit more effective with 85%. In the third phase was looking at applying these features or these elements of standard packaging onto alternative tobacco products and seeing if they will have a similar effect in that people find these unappealing, unattractive, more noticeable for the health warnings and so forth. We found that this mirrored our research finding in phase 1 and 2, in that people felt the same way, in that 4,4,8-C, Pantene 4,4,8-C was unattractive, and health warnings at 75% more effective than the 50%. So we applied these different to the cigars, pipe, tobacco, and hoon, which is a type of roll-on tobacco, and also as well as BDs here in Singapore. So in conclusion, when we finished the research on standardized packaging, we found that we recommended as 75% the health warnings. The pack color recommendation was for 4,4,8-C, which was what Australia had, and most other countries like UK, France also had in place as well. Okay. In the next stage of our journey, we conducted public consultations, and these consultations were conducted to both engage the public on what we want to try to do, as well as leveraging and gaining support from the public on our measures and our policy measures. As I mentioned before, initially we had research and review. Then our first consultation was held in December 2015. In 2017, we convened an expert group of international and local public health experts. Then in 2018, we consulted with another public consultation, giving a more detailed rationale for the policy, as well as in June 2018, we had a third public consultation, and this was to consult on the extra research that we did as a result of the public health experts' advice. And then towards 2019, we engaged trade on implementation. So it's important from our findings from this one about public consultation is that it's important to engage the public, because we want to let them know what our objectives and what we're trying to achieve with this policy, to educate them and get them, the public, to advocate for our policy. Our consultations were mainly conducted online, as well as with tobacco retailers, and also on street surveys as well. We found that a lot of people in the public were very supportive of standardized packaging, larger health warnings, and also minimum legal age. Okay. We also engaged with stakeholders, but we didn't engage on stakeholders on policy matters, because we, as the government, were the ones who decided on the policy. We engaged stakeholders with the tobacco industry on implementation aspects. For example, we wanted to know that if the specifications that we wanted on standardized packaging, could they apply it, or could they roll it out on their packaging? So the manufacturers in these consultations highlighted implementation challenges. Also clarified on specification that we wanted as well as we performed a scan of all the different types of packaging available in the Singapore market to see that whether the regulations that we wrote could be applied to all the different types of packaging on the market. For example, one thing that came up was about cigar boxes. A lot of cigar industry were complaining that they couldn't use Pantone 4,4,8-C on their wooden boxes, which we found out could be done. It wasn't something that could not be done. So it's things like that. Okay. So in terms of implementation, in June 2019, we had a trade briefing to all manufacturers to let them know what we're intending to do, as well as publication of the regulations itself. It wasn't a trade briefing to talk about policy, it's a trade briefing to talk about his implementation now. Also in July 2019, we released technical files for the graphic health warnings, so they could be downloaded on the website, or we passed them a CD-ROM with all the different images we intended to use. Then we gave them a 1-year grace period. And from April 2020, we gave them, the industry, a 3-month transition period. So this 3-month transition period was to allow tobacco manufacturers and retailers to exhaust all their existing stock of old branded cigarette packaging. And then implementation was on the 1st of July 2020. So overall, our journey started in 2015, where we conducted research. 2016 is when we first had public consultations. Between 2016 and 2018, we developed a policy, as well as 2019 engaged with trade. And then by July 2019, we had gazetted our regulations and provided a grace period, and then July 2021 implementation. So it's over a 5-6 year period of time in which we rolled out this policy. So lessons learned to us are that it's important to know the market and the different types of packaging you have on your market before you go out on this policy. Conduct a thorough review of evidence and all the industry arguments against standardized packaging. Engage the public. Okay. Also engage public health experts and be transparent in policy development matters, as well as also engage the tobacco industry, but only on implementation matters only. In terms of policy was decided by the government and not with the tobacco industry. Okay, and this is my last slide. Okay, thank you very much for hearing me. Okay.
Your experience, your lesson learned from Singapore with us, and I think everyone who participate in this session will learn that the journey that Singapore has done with the standardized packagings. Okay, so we move on to the next presentations. To Myanmar, Dr. Jo Khan Gao. Are you all right? Yes, please.
Yes, good morning.
Oh yes, please. You from the Ministry of Public Health, and you are now the Deputy Director General. Your specialty is public health, and your interest is non-communicable disease. So please share with us your experience and lesson learned. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you all this today, the participant and all the audience. I'm happy to share the Myanmar journey towards standardized packaging. Here is my presentation outline. This is NCD burden in Myanmar, NCD and tobacco control, achievement in the tobacco control, and the step taken for the standardized packaging of the tobacco product in country. So as other countries and globally, NCD is being the major cause of the mortality and morbidity of all the patients, and it's estimated around the more than 50% of the mortality and morbidity for all the diseases. And here is the NCD governance in the country, and the Ministry of Health, the Myanmar Health Sector Coordinating Committee is a multi-sectoral committee. And under that, the NCD Technical Strategic Group and our Department of Public Health and NCD unit has established in 2015. And tobacco control is one of the major the sector, our administration, and the others, the NCD, especially diabetes, hypertension, cancer, chronic respiratory disease, and injury, and also mental health, epilepsy, deafness, snake bite, and rehabilitation are under our management. To strengthen the public health capacity to respond to Myanmar disease transition from CD to NCD, we have developed the workshop for the National Strategic Plan, and our current National Strategic Plan is currently the last year of the current NSP. So we are going along implementing our NCD response activities. So here is the balance that we conduct the ratio step survey in 2014. As you here show, is the percentage of the current smokers in bulk statistics are 26.1%, and the percentage of current smokers for tobacco users are 43%. And this is a very big threat to the NCD control. So also in the 2016, the GONTS survey, 1 in 3 students are exposed to tobacco smoke at home, and 3 in 10 students are exposed to tobacco smoke. So investment case we conducted for the tobacco, and it is found that 70% of all deaths in Myanmar are attributed to the tobacco use, and this based on the tobacco attributed fraction of the death or the 31 disease causality linked with tobacco use. About 64,000 tobacco attributable deaths occurs each year in Myanmar, and tobacco use prevalence is higher among the poor. 28% of the tobacco attributed deaths are estimated to occur among the poorest 20% of the population. Tobacco attributable mortality and morbidity in Myanmar each year result in the loss of the 1.1 million years of healthy life. And in terms of the investment and in terms of the monetary, the tobacco use siphon in Myanmar charged 2.62 trillion. That is 3.3% of the Myanmar GDP. In our country, we studied the tobacco-free initiative. This officially started in January 2000, in the year 2000, with the support from the WHO. National Health Committee principally agreed to provision of the WHO FCTC at its 34th meeting in 2002. Myanmar has signed the FCTC on 23rd of October 2003, and we have ratified on the 20th of April 2004. And it becomes the 11th party of the convention. And tobacco control was formed in March 2002 by the highest authority. And it is Tobacco Control Committee is chaired by the Minister of Health with the members for the related departments, NGO, and generated in May 2019. Based on the provision of the WHO FCTC, the control of the smoking consumption of tobacco product law was enacted in May 2006, and it came into effect in May 2007. The law prohibits smoking at public places, public transport, health facility, education institute, and to the ban on the tobacco advertising, promotion, and sponsorship, and restriction of the access to tobacco product by legal minors, and the warning labels of promotion of the tobacco cessation. And we started at the plain packaging and labeling of the tobacco product, and the Minister had signed on 29 February 2016 for Victoria Health warnings by notification. And it came into effect starting from the 1st September 2006. And this year, current year, is the 5th round of the Victoria Health warning. These are the pictures of what we put in the cigarette pack and the tobacco pack. This from the 5 years. And also, we have the make a notification, the directives from the ministry. It is on the 2020 August for the code of conduct for the government officials, and the ministerial head was issued for the product or the tobacco industry. This is code of conduct is a very remarkable milestone for us. This is the start of our journey for the plain packaging. Multi-sectoral workshop on development of the national tobacco control policy, strategy, and legislation was conducted in November 2019. Standardized packaging is the key recommendation and is one of the prioritized actions for the workshop. Workshop on the standardized packaging is conducted in December 2019 with the participants from the key ministries, WHO FCTC Secretary, SICA, and experts from Thailand. And drafting group was organized by the ministry on April 2020 with the members from Ministerial Head, Attorney General Office, WHO, the Union, and NGO. And final draft was submitted to the higher level currently. Here's a same step for the standardized packaging. That we formed a drafting group and draft notification in consultation with the members of the group that's already mentioned, and prepare policy documents for any arguments, and finalization of the submissions to Ministerial Head. And we are now processing to submit to the Cabinet for the approval, and issuing the notification, the public announcement, monitoring mechanism development in collaboration with the related sectors. These are some activities that we conducting as a preparation. That we collect the mock sample with the Myanmar language and the pictures, and collection of the tobacco control law from other countries, especially standardized packaging implementing countries, and development of the draft standardized packaging notification in Myanmar language, and translation and seeking expert comments from all the concerned parties. And we hiring as a expert or a legal consultant for drafting the standard packaging. Here, the way, we have already passed our journey. The workshop in 2019 December, and in 2020 January, MOE's decision to change from Victoria Health Warning to the standardized packaging. And in 2020 April, drafting groups composed, and we carried out the drafting of this notification. And we, in May 2020, we has met the first meeting of this drafting group. And in June 2020, the first draft developed in the Myanmar language. And in September 2020, the final drafts were developed. Now it is already passed to the one level higher to the ministry. Here are some way forwards. The development of the transition plans for switch from the Victoria Health Warning to the standardized packaging, and development of the monitoring mechanism to comply with this it will be newly announced the plain packaging, and they're taking approval from the government and issuing notification of the government approval and the public announcement. That we acknowledge the FCTC, SIGA, GGTC, Campaign for Tobacco Free Kid, the WHO, People Foundation, Myanmar, the union, and our former union minister, Dr. Mitri, for all these activities that they has already supported to make it happen. And thank you very much, and I'm happy to share this our journey. Thank you.
The Deputy General of Ministry of Public Health for Myanmar, and I think and I think every country, I think as I see from Thailand, Singapore, and Myanmar, has made advanced progress in terms of plain packaging, and everyone move forward. Very good, and also have a future plan to do more for the benefit of society. So next speaker we will have a video presentation from Si Yin, WHO, who is a regional advisor of the Western Pacific regions on tobacco control, and the area of interest is NCD risk factor. I think we will have the video ready right now, so we just show it. Thank you.
Good morning. It is an honor to participate in this symposium about plain packaging in Asia Pacific. I will spend the next 10 minutes or so to highlight the FCTC guidelines when it comes to plain packaging, as well as key global progress in implementing this important tobacco control measure. Plain packaging is recommended in WHO FCTC guidelines as part of a comprehensive approach to tobacco control. Plain packaging is discussed in 2 implementation guidelines, specifically on Article 11, Packaging and Labeling of Tobacco Products, and Article 13, Tobacco Advertising, Promotion, and Sponsorship. Article 11 guidelines state, parties should consider adopting measures to restrict or prohibit the use of logos, colors, brand images, or promotional information on packaging other than brand names and product names displayed in a standard color and font style. Article 13 guidelines state the effect of advertising or promotion on packaging can be eliminated by requiring plain packaging, which the guidelines go into detail about the color, the content, font style, shape, and materials of the package. The guidelines specify that there should be no advertising or promotion inside or attached to the package or on individual cigarettes or other tobacco products. That makes the purpose of plain packaging very clear: to reduce the attractiveness or appeal of tobacco products, to eliminate the effects of packaging as a form or a channel of advertising and promotion, to prevent any kind of design techniques that may suggest certain products are less harmful than others, and finally, to make health warning more noticeable and effective. Plain packaging is also called standardized packaging, meaning making features standardized in order to achieve the purpose of plain packaging as just mentioned. What are the features that need to be standardized then? As illustrated in this slide, from finish and colors of outer and inner surfaces of the pack, to appearance of brand and any variant name, from shape and size of the pack, to type of lid and how it opens, to the barcode, and how and where the text stamps should be affixed. Plain packaging should also prohibit features like embellishments on the pack, pack inserts or inserts. By inserts means any communication affixed to the outside of an individual package and or carton purchase at retail by consumers, and other features as well. Some laws include a general prohibition of any feature on tobacco packaging or products that is not authorized by law. For features that are not addressed explicitly in plain packaging laws, this kind of general clause prevents and limits manufacturers' scope to introduce promotional features that could circumvent the law. Standardization of packaging may apply differently to different categories of tobacco products. For example, where cigar packaging is standardized, the required material or closing mechanism or placement of warnings are likely to be different than for standardized packaging of a cigarette package or hand-rolled tobacco packages. Now let's take a quick look at the global progress in plain packaging. By the end of 2020, 17 countries had adopted legislation mandating plain packaging of tobacco products and had issued regulations with implementation dates. 4 of the 17 countries are in Asia Pacific: Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, and Thailand. It's worth noting here that because France is also among the 17 countries, 3 territories of France in the Pacific also have plain packaging. Here is a list of the 17 countries. It's also important to note here that Canada, the detailed regulation were adopted on May 1st, 2019. And the detailed regulations include plain packaging for heated tobacco products and the heating devices, such as IQOS. In the Netherlands, the government intends to further amend the Tobacco and Smoking Products Decree to provide for plain packaging of all other tobacco products and e-cigarettes from January 1st, 2022. In Hungary, implementation was actually supposed to start in May 2019, but was delayed with amending legislation. The rules, though, will apply to cigarettes and hand-rolled tobacco. This slide shows some examples of plain packaging from various countries. In addition, there are 3 countries that have adopted laws but will need to work on detailed regulations. They are Armenia, Georgia, and Romania. Legislation are also being considered by an increasing number of countries. Some are listed here. So what about the effects of plain packaging? Let's look at Australia first. Research on the effects of plain packaging in Australia shows plain packaging's effect on disruption in uptake among youth, and there had been a decrease in experimental and past-month smoking between 2011 and 2017 after plain packaging was introduced in the country. Similar findings were also observed in a French study showing decrease in smoking initiation among French adolescents. Further, studies in Australia have demonstrated increased cessation activity among adult smokers in Australia. In New Zealand, evidence of policy impact from the International Tobacco Control Policy Evaluation Project showed that standardized packaging substantially decreased the appeal of cigarette packs and increased the noticeability of health warnings versus other pack elements. For example, the proportion who noticed the warning labels first when looking at a pack instead of other aspects of the pack, such as branding, have doubled from 24% to 48%. Evidence also showed that smokers' support for standardized packaging had also increased. To conclude, plain packaging works. It is an important demand reduction measure. It reduces the attractiveness of tobacco products, increases the effectiveness of health warnings. Furthermore, and importantly, it restricts the use of tobacco packaging as a form of tobacco advertising and promotion, limits the tobacco industry from misleading packaging and labeling, limits the tobacco industry's attempt to use packaging and labeling to lure and mislead their customers. There is also an increasing number of countries that require plain packaging of tobacco products. Finally, and most importantly, plain packaging is part of a comprehensive approach to tobacco control that protects people from the harms caused by tobacco, and it is consistent with international trade law. We all know that Australia won landmark WTO ruling on plain tobacco packaging on June 28, 2018. And on June 9 last year, 2020, the WTO dismissed an appeal filed by the Dominican Republic and Honduras, upholding the 2018 WTO panel ruling that plain packaging does not infringe international trade or intellectual property laws. This legal victory should encourage more countries to follow Australia's lead and implement this important and effective tobacco control measure. Evidence and good practices from the early adopters of plain packaging measures have set a strong precedent for other countries considering similar measures and move forward with actions to control tobacco use. I will stop here. Thank you for your attention. I'm happy to take any questions later.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yin, and then you have already provided information and the impact of plain packaging, which you show that it has a very impact for disruption of uptake of the cigarette uptake among the teenagers, and also increase the information to smoker in adult that if they want to stop smoking, there's a vast evidence to show that smoking is really harmful to the effect by looking at the plain packaging on cigarette. So we think there's no one question is, if I would like to ask Professor Yin right now, is she on the line? One question coming in, see what research data do we need to prepare to advocate the policy makers? If I think any speaker would like to comment on this, then we will do that after we show the presentation from Dr. Tan Yen Lien. Okay. She is now work at the Southeast Asia Tobacco Control Alliance, and her specialty is tobacco control, and she's an educator. So I think we showed the presentation first, and then we will respond to the questions I just asked. So let's go to the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and a very good morning to everyone. I will be presenting on the ASEAN Pact Design Analysis Evidence Base for Standardized Packaging, looking into how tobacco industry utilize cigarette pack to advertise and circumvent pictorial warning in ASEAN. I would like to start my presentation by sharing the key progress of Article 11 implementation in the ASEAN region. Generally, all 10 ASEAN countries have fully implemented pictorial health warnings. 2 countries, including Thailand and Singapore, have further strengthening the current pictorial health warning by adopting standardized packaging. They are the champion and leading countries in Asia to introduce standardized packaging, and also among the 19 other countries worldwide that have adopted standardized packaging to date. Thailand has implemented standardized packaging effective on 10 September 2019, followed by Singapore on 1st July 2020, and the warning size has also increased from 50% to 75% along with standardized packaging implementation. With the exception of Thailand and Singapore, most of the cigarette pack in other ASEAN countries are attractive with appealing colors and design. The industry continue capitalizing on the remaining package space without pictorial health warning to advertise and promote their brand. These promotional designs have diluted the effectiveness of pictorial health warnings and tobacco advertising, promotion and sponsorship bans. In line with the recommendations in both implementation guidelines of Article 11 and 13, standardized packaging should be implemented based on the following 4 key objectives. It helps to reduce the appeal of tobacco products, to eliminate the effects of advertising and promotion elements on tobacco packaging, to prevent the circumvention of the misleading descriptor bans. It will reduce the ability of the pack to mislead consumers that may suggest some products are less harmful than others, as well as to increase the visibility and effectiveness of pictorial health warnings. The purpose of the study is to analyze packaging design and promotional elements that used by tobacco industry to subvert the existing regulations on pictorial health warnings and tobacco advertising, promotion and sponsorship ban implemented in all ASEAN countries. In terms of methodology, a multidisciplinary approach by applying the principles of marketing and semiotics is used to analyze 44 empty cigarette packs from 9 ASEAN countries, including Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, PDR, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. We also analyze all the promotional elements that appear on the external and internal surfaces of the packaging. In the next few slides, I will be sharing the key findings of the pack analysis study in comparison to the objective of standardized packaging. Based on the general observation, we found that cigarette packaging comes in different shapes and sizes, that is a non-standard packaging. As you can see on the slide, the slim and super slim pack with apple-flavored cigarettes sold in Vietnam, as well as the slim stick pack sold in Singapore, prior to the standardized packaging implementation. This slim packaging is targeting for girls and women as it looks elegant with slim cigarette sticks. All ASEAN countries except the Philippines require pictorial health warning to be placed at the top, front and back panels of the package. Example of Fortune brand sold in the Philippines with pictorial health warning printed at the bottom panel of the principal area of the package. We also found the side opening of Ji Samsu pack sold in Indonesia. This is uncommon as most cigarette packages come with flip-top lid opening. The side opening allowing more space on the inside to carry a lengthy descriptor. In most countries, kiddie pack less than 20 sticks has been banned except in Indonesia, Myanmar and Philippines. This is the example of kiddie pack 16 sticks sold in Indonesia. However, for standardized packaging, all tobacco products should be packaged in a standardized shape, size and opening, flip-top lid opening, in order to reduce the appeal of tobacco products. Another findings for the pack analysis is that most of the pack comes in attractive design and colors that appeal to smoker, youth and women. These 5 photos on the top left demonstrated the use of brand names or variant in different form type, size, color, design, and location. All these elements will distract and dilute the effect of pictorial health warnings. We also observe the use of brand logos or image is the common feature found on the front and back panels of the pack, such as the chevron design of Marlboro pack, the use of coat of arm emblems on cigarette pack, and signature of famous or influential person. All of these designs are decorated with modernistic graphics to enhance the promotional elements. To eliminate the effect of tobacco advertising and promotional elements, standardized packaging prohibits the use of logos, colors, brand images, or promotional information on packaging other than brand names should be displayed in a standardized color, form type, size, and location. Beside the principal areas of the pack, we also found the promotion using brand names and colors are printed on the top, bottom, and side panels of the pack, as clearly seen on the pack shown in this slide. These are examples of cigarette pack from Cambodia, Arab brands, Vietnam 555 brands, and London brand of Myanmar pack. All ASEAN countries except Cambodia and Vietnam require health messages on product constituents and emission to be printed on the side panel of the pack. Photo on the right side show Thailand standardized packaging required 2 different health messages on yellow background to be printed on both side panels. On the pack analysis, we also found that advertising and promotional elements exist in the internal surface of the pack. As you can see, the 4 photos on the top left clearly show the industry uses collar, front, and rear foils to advertise its brand's names or logo. We also observe other promotional features using the receivable pack design that give an impression that the flap helps to maintain the freshness and taste of the cigarettes. For standardized packaging, there should be no advertising or promotional information inside or attached to the package. In addition to that, we also found the use of insert that is placed inside the cigarette package to provide an additional information to promote the product. These are examples of insert that about the size of calling card found in cigarette pack from Myanmar and Vietnam. For countries that have implemented standardized packaging, such as Australia, Ireland, UK, Thailand, and Singapore, the inclusion of inserts of additional materials that are not part of tobacco packaging is strictly prohibited. Another advertising and promotional feature found on the pack is the use of special cigarette filter to advertise on cigarette pack in the form of descriptors, symbol, or diagram to add novelty element and give a false sense that the cigarettes are safer. Photo on the left showed the promotions of charcoal carbon filter image. Capsules filter and firm tag filter are clearly printed on the pack. All of these promotional elements are prohibited in standardized packaging implementation. This is another example of descriptors that used by industry to promote product quality with lengthy description printed at the back panel of the pack. It is clear that this type of promotion tactic used by tobacco industry to circumvent the current misleading descriptor ban that has been implemented in most countries in ASEAN. To increase the visibility and effectiveness of pictorial health warnings, a larger and prominent pictorial health warning size is preferable. The study found that smaller pictorial warning size increases the area on the main panel to be used by industry for advertising and promotional design. This is clearly seen on the cigarette packages with warning size less than 75%, particularly from Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Vietnam. Indonesia has the smallest warning size of 40% in the region. In ASEAN, Thailand has implemented the largest 85% pictorial health warning size since 2014 and also ranked the 4th largest warning size in the world, followed by Brunei, Laos PDR, Myanmar, and Singapore required 75% pictorial health warning size. We have also found that pictorial health warning is distorted due to the non-standard small packaging design, particularly the slim lipstick packs that has diluted the effect of pictorial health warnings. The placements of tab stamp On the upper back panel of the pack often cover part of the pictorial health warnings, which has also reduced the effectiveness of pictorial warnings. It is evident that cigarette packaging has been fully capitalized by the tobacco industry to promote its product with attractive colors, design, and promotional features. To eliminate all these advertising and promotional elements, adopting standardized packaging is the way to go. Australia is the first country in the world to adopt standardized packaging since December 2012. There is growing trend of countries adopting standardized packaging across the globe. There are more than 30 countries and territories are moving towards standardized packaging, with 19 countries have adopted the measures and at least 15 countries in varying stages of introducing standardized packaging law. In the ASEAN region, Thailand and Singapore are the first two lead countries to introduce standardized packaging. All governments are encouraged to join Thailand and Singapore in adopting standardized packaging to complement the effectiveness of current pictorial health warnings. We have published a report of packaging design analysis to support standardized packaging in the ASEAN, which is available on SIACA website, and feel free to download. With that, I end my presentation. Thank you very much for listening.
So, Dr. Tan Yen, for your presentation and your summaries of what our countries in this region has done for the packaging on cigarette. We still have a few minutes left for this session, and I see a question from participants ask about what kind of research data would you need to prepare to advocate for policymaker if we still have our speaker online based on Singapore experience, Thai experience. Would anyone would like to respond to this question? Research data we need to promote to the policymakers to promote more on this one. Thank you. So from Singapore?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. So just to state that there's been quite a lot of research done on standardized packaging or plain packaging. So for example, obviously Australia did a lot of formative research. So first of all, Australia did a lot of work on this when they first started out in 2011, 2012. So a lot of their research that they produced on the market research is in the public domain, so it's quite easily accessible, as well as the Singapore studies as well. So when we did our studies, we did different 3 phases, and all our research has been published as well online. So it's quite easy to Google that and find that data, as well as there's numerous reviews done. For example, reviews done by Chandler, the Chandler review. There's reviews done by I think it's from the Canadians, from the Canadian review. I recall, sorry, the name just slipped my mind, but there's quite a number of reviews has been published. So there's quite, in terms of evidence-based research data to support standardized packaging, there's quite a lot out there already. Australia, Singapore has it already, as well as evaluation as well. I think that Australia did a PIR, post-implementation review, which has been published as well, which states the impact of standardized packaging on smoking prevalence, as well as I think what we heard from a previous speaker, Ms. Xi Yin. They also mentioned that New Zealand also conducted an evaluation of the standardized packaging policy as well. So in terms of evidence-based, research-based, there's quite a lot out there to support the policy itself. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I noticed in Thailand, usually when we talk to policymakers, we usually talk on the money, health expenditures. If we do something to benefit our health, it must decrease the health expenditure. Means the cost of money we spend in health must be lower or decrease. I think Dr. Chayanan, would you comment on this because we need more research on something like this for Thailand?
For Thailand, like Singapore, we use Australian study for impact for plain packaging to tobacco use and new smoker to advocate the policy maker, also like Singapore. Thank you.
Okay, so perhaps for Myanmar, Dr. Gao, would you like to make a response to the questions, to any research you need to present it to? Oh, you are a policy maker already, right? I think.
Yes, but although I am the responsible for the policy making the tobacco control, but we really need to advocate to our higher level decision maker. Our 2006 tobacco control law, the favor to endorse the new approach of the tobacco plain packaging, but this mother law is not directly favoring for making this the new law again. So we have to connect it to the same clause of the mother law, and in connection to that, we have to make the notification. But again, although we have the right, the Ministry of Health has a right to announce this plain packaging notification, as we have the new government. So we have to take the permission from the new government. So we also need to have the strong evidence and for such kind of the research data, how significantly the tobacco consumption prevalence will be reduced to defend from our ministry. Our minister has to defend to the higher level, the cabinet. So we really need to search the data, so how would it control the tobacco control. So, and also we make the so many literature review. That's already the LitFed has already mentioned. So the online review, and so also the expert consultation from SIGA, FCTC, etc. So these are our way how we make it happen for the data. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So I think we do not have any questions from our participants.
Hello,
Yes,
yeah,
come
Mr.
on.
Chair, I would
Yes.
like to add. I would
Please.
like to reiterate and also echo what Lee Pai had mentioned. There are a lot of evidence out there, and I would like to say that country may not need to do their own research because probably due to the limited resources at the country level. So what you can do is all this information, all this research evidence are really established and available out there. Please make use of that. That also will be useful for your advocacy in your country level. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So you already conclude that too many advanced research data already available. Just communicate, and then take this research data. But it has to be presented to policymakers in a very simple way, and then convince them that this is the way that we have to do to reduce smoking in your country, that will benefit to your health system. Otherwise, we will have a lot of death and also hospitalization due to cigarette-related disease, cardiovascular, and then stroke and those things. So I think thank you very much for our 4 speakers for your excellent contribution on your plain packagings, and also lesson learned from each country. And I think this is recorded so everyone can coming up and then rerun it again. And I would like to say that this morning session we have COVID-19 and tobacco, and then standard type packagings and tobacco, and you can see that COVID-19 is not a strong inhibitor. I think what we have to do is the standard plain packaging, which is a strong inhibitor to smoking, to the young teenagers, and also contribute to the greater cessation of smoking among adults who already been a smoker. So thank you very much, and I close this session. And before I close this session, I would just like to advertise that we will have a special session during noon to 1 p.m. Bangkok time. It's a review and wrap up of the APACT 2021. So everyone who have a time, please join this review and wrap up session, 1 hour during noon. Okay, thank you everybody, and bye bye. See you again next APACT.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.